Indy Neidell.
And I'm Spartacus.
And we want to make history. I mean, really make history. In fact, this is what our lives have been leading up to. Many of you know me as the writer and host of The Great War, the documentary YouTube channel. Spartacus and I had the idea for that channel in the spring of 2014, and we were fortunate enough to be backed by a big company. But we have a lot of other really cool ideas for programming, and it's pretty obvious that we're going to have to do them ourselves.
But we want to do it together with you. Literally together with you.
That's the thing. The most rewarding thing about the Great War was the interactivity, was the interaction with the community. It made the whole thing a lot more personal. It increased the amount of knowledge that we could share, and that's really great.
And we want to take that to the next level.
Yeah.
We want to literally engage with you. We want you to get involved in the process. We want you to come to the studio. We're also going to organize a get-together every quarter. We call it the TimeGhost Haunt, where you can come meet us and other people that are just as passionate about history to create the history content of tomorrow.
It's not just our projects. We know you have cool ideas for programming, and we want to do them. A lot of Great War fans have asked me if I'll do something on the Second World War. Well, if that's what you guys want, then yeah, sure. In fact, Spartacus had an idea for a smaller format about the Second World War.
Well, think about the Nazis. We know a lot of things about the Nazis, but there's also a lot of things that aren't general knowledge. So what we want to do is a program called 101 Things That You Did Not Want to Know About the Nazis. Crazy people, horrible people, but also fascinating, of course. Think of Baldur von Schirach, the head of the Hitler Youth. Now, he wasn't even all German. He was half American. He didn't even learn how to speak German until he was 5 years old. And he was the descendant of two, no less than two, signatories of the Declaration of Independence. How's that for irony?
It'll be fun. And like I said, we already have some cool ideas for programming. Like I have an idea for a thing about the Black Death. Now, many people and a lot of sources consider it a European phenomenon, but it wasn't. I mean, sure, Pope Clement VI actually estimated that roughly a third of Europe's population of 70-something million people died during the Black Death, including over half of some parts of Scandinavia. Imagine if half of your country died in like 1 year or 2 years.
Pretty brutal.
Well, anyhow, it wasn't a European phenomenon. The plague bacillus itself is not indigenous to Europe. It comes from Central Asia, right? So when you think of it in that context, you have Mongol horsemen roaming hundreds of miles a day. You have the mythical, legendary cities of the Spice Road and the Middle East and North Africa, and you have accidental phenomena like, okay, we all know the tragic fate that befell a great many Polish Jews during the Second World War. But did you ever wonder, why were there so many Jews in Poland in the first place?
I think we get it. It has to do with the plague, but I think we're drifting.
Anyhow, I'll put it simply. Let's make history together.
Come join TimeGhost.
Now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about history and really find out, like a competition between the two of you. There were two battles of Tannenberg, right? So when was the first one? And
That's cheating.
And
he does the Great War.
The second one was not actually at Tannenberg. It was only near Tannenberg, and that was in August 1914.
Well, what about the points now? Do we have 2 points?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm totally winning like 5-1 by now.
What were the names of the guys that ran with Spiridon Lewis?
We have to explain who Spiridon Lewis is first.
Spiridon Lewis, he's a Greek national hero because he won the marathon, which was the first modern marathon, in the first modern Olympics in 1896 in Athens, and he was just a male runner.
He set a time record that lasted for something like 30 years. I can't remember exactly how many years, but it lasted forever. And so everybody thought that he was like the fastest marathon runner ever. The thing is, the marathon was a few hundred meters shorter in 1896.
But in the middle of the marathon, he actually stopped at a cafe and had a glass of wine in the middle of running the marathon. I wish they still did that. The Berlin Olympics in 1936, they wanted to bring Spiridon there, as a big hero winning the first marathon. And he said he would go, sure, but they had to bring enough of the specific wine that he drank every day.
Retsina.
Yeah, was it Retsina?
It was Retsina.
They had to bring enough Retsina because he wasn't going to drink the local wine. So they brought like a bunch of barrels of Retsina. Otherwise, Spiridon would not go to Berlin.
And actually, Lufthansa was a sponsor of the Olympic Games 1936, and they wanted to fly him in.
Yeah.
But he was afraid of flying, so he took the train. But so that Lufthansa would have a story that they could tell to the press, they flew the Retsina.
There we go. Okay, I didn't know that. You get points for that. Okay. So it's 19-3.
Okay. So
I'm counting in metric.
Okay. So
I do remember though the three Greek pole vaulters in the 1896 Olympics: Zyklos, Damascus, and Theodoros.
1887.
Was it?
I think so.
I would be
71.
guessing. Shit. 1871. It's 1871.
Which is the Franco-Prussian War.
Yeah, in Paris Commune.
Okay, what happened 1866?
But wait, 1871.
1866 was the Prussian War.
But 1871, we weren't done with that. 1871 was also the foundation of the National Association, which was, although the National League, baseball's National League, is the oldest professional sporting league in the world, right? The National Association was actually, it existed for 5 years, and it was also professional. Although it was more of a tournament style thing than a league, but it was the first such body in the entire world. That happened in 1871 as well.
Which, next to Germany actually being founded in 1871, is probably the most important thing that happened, right?
It's definitely the most important thing that happened. Who was the first German in history?
Yes.
Otto von Bismarck.
It depends.
What kind of questions that?
When did the Vasa sink?
1628.
I think I was at 1648.
Okay, who was the dipshit that actually was taking responsibility for that?
Well, actually, the thing is, you can't just blame the dipshits designing it, because everybody was afraid to tell the king that it was too top heavy and it was
Okay,
going to
who was
sink.
the king? Who was the king?
Gustavus Adolphus II,
Yeah,
of course.
but it was so everybody was kind of dipshits for not telling the king.
Okay.
So this boat.
Yeah, but wait, there's another part of that story. First of all, there's that, and then in order
We use
to...
dipshit? Really? We want to use dipshit?
Dipshit is
Okay,
cool.
fine.
Douchebag.
That's a wrap.
It was like really top heavy, it was too light, and then they did a really, really smart thing. They wanted more cannons as well.
That's the
So
thing,
they
it's put
added
all the cannons
they
up top,
added,
you know?
Exactly. They added another floor of cannons on top. And then when they were sailing out of Stockholm on that June day, it was already really, it's kind of
But
like
it rocked once,
And
right
they
in
wanted to
itself.
show- and they wanted to show how cool it was. So they had all of these cannon. They had the portholes for the cannon holes, and they opened them all up with this beautiful blue with golden lines on it. So now you have the lower cannon decks all open,
Yeah.
with cannons in them,
Yeah.
and the wind, and they pass just out from
Skeppsholmen.
yeah, Skeppsholmen, yeah. Out from the wind shadow of one of the hills in Stockholm, and the first gust of wind just goes. Then it rights itself, but
Yeah,
the
it did
problem
right
is
itself.
when it righted itself, it had already started taking in water through the open cannon portholes.
Yeah.
So that, of course, everybody knows what happens when you got water inside of a vessel that's
Yeah.
moving back and forth. So, and then came the next gust of wind, and they went, and then boom.
The heights, Stevie, are you talking about the heights at the eastern edge of Södermalm?
That's right.
That's right where I live. That's
Yeah.
where I live right now.
So the next question I would like you to answer in Swedish, because you're both, we're talking
Oh,
of Sweden
my
there,
God, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, who was the guy who actually found the Vasa?
Jag har bara varit på vad som jag ser 10 gånger. Jag har glömt så mycket.
Ja, men Franzén, han hade ett lod.
Ja.
Ett hål i
Ja, men det är man, ja.
Så han
Ja.
körde ner det, och när det kom upp med svart ek visste han att här ligger
Han
det.
hade hittat. Okay, so now he's ahead 46-9. Cool.
It is 46-9,
Yeah.
yes.
But I'm on your heels, man. I'm nipping.
When was the last time Napoleon III was actually in France?
Well, when he was captured in 1870 after Sedan, right?
He was.
Did he ever return to France after
No, he
that?
didn't.
No, that would
No,
be
that
it,
was
right?
last-
Where did he die?
Ooh, where did he?
Where did Napoleon III die?
In London. Okay.
Really?
Really? I did not know that.
So, talking about Sedan,
Yeah.
right? There was one battalion, French battalion, that actually got out before the Battle of Sedan.
Yeah.
Which battalion was that?
Ooh, I
The
don't know.
Russian Women's Battalion of Death.
That's an old war.
Yep, it was 47 years before it was even founded. Maria Boshkareva and her, they got out. That's why they were still
It
there.
was-
It was the French SS division.
Yes, it was the French. Who was it actually? We don't
It
know.
was the 13th.
13.
But-
Well, now we know. I'm going to remember that. We're going to remember that. Oh, see,
Really?
we all learned something. TimeGhost is awesome. See, when you come to the TimeGhost haunts, like every 3 months and stuff, this is what we're going to do. Asper's going to, we'll have different, you guys can all join. I bet some of these guys are a lot better than we are, though.
Damn, now we have to start all over again.